Hi, this is Greg Johnson, the Associate Director of the NCAA News and Champion Magazine. Today we're joined by NCAA Secretary Rules Editor, Mr. Bob Bubb. Bob, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
You were meeting with the NCAA Wrestling Rules Committee here this week at the national office, and you guys are coming up with some recommendations that the Playing Rules and Oversight Panel will go over in June to approve. One of the recommendations is concerns the length of matches. Could you describe to our viewers here exactly what's going on there?
Yes, Greg. By rule, the standard duration of a match is 7 minutes. But we also passed a number of years ago to accommodate early season tournaments that a match could be legally conducted at 6 minutes. But what happened, as I said, early season tournaments with a large population, maybe 300, 400, 500 entries, it really helped them get through the day's tournament in a timely manner. But the Rules Committee has taken a look at it and has removed the 6-minute option, mainly for two reasons. Number one is a standard 7-minute match. Everybody's got to wrestle the 7-minute match all through the season now. And it's, well, football. The early season, you don't have 12-minute quarters, or basketball 10-minute halves in the early season. And since it becomes so important at the end of the year for seeding purposes for either of the three divisions, it's highly important what's your record. And what sometimes comes into play is that, well, yes, he won, but it was only a 6-minute match. And so we don't want to have to differentiate between a 6-minute match and a 7-minute match. So it's been standardized across the board, and all matches this year conducted using NCAA rules will be of 7-minute in duration.
Okay. I know another area of concern for the Wrestling Rules Committee is the skin infection, taking care of the equipment. Could you go into some of the recommendations you guys are?
Well, the Rules Committee just here in Indianapolis has discussed at great length. We know that skin infection and the emergence of MRSA is certainly important in all sports and in the general population of the United States. So we want to be proactive in addressing these problems. So they have come forth with a recommendation to schools hosting NCAA events and competition that the mats will be cleaned prior to any competition. And those schools using multiple sessions within a day or days, that those mats be cleaned in between sessions as well. They also asked as a recommendation that a method of disinfecting the wrestling shoes, obviously they walk through the gymnasium and the locker room area and they come out and now they're ready to step on the mat. So there'd be some mechanism that would disinfect the soles of the shoes before stepping on the mat. And in addition, they have come up with a form that is now being developed, which will be put into use next year, that would report for a student athlete the skin infection. Let's say that you have a student athlete on your team that has broken out with some type of skin infection. You take that student athlete to a physician or a dermatologist, and he examines it and makes his treatment protocol. Now, up to that point, we're fine. What happens sometimes that physicians and dermatologists do not have a NCAA current wrestling book, rules book in their office. So the rules are specifically spelled out on how and what they ask for treatment, number of days for treatment, and so forth. Now, what we've made that easier for the physician, we'll come up with a standard form that asks all these questions. He will fill them out in a check mark and then he'll sign, affix his signature to the form. The student athlete will then take that form to his next competition, and when he weighs in, he will present that documentation to the host physician or athletic trainer for clearance. But with the caveat that the trainer and physician on site always has the final word as far as whether a skin infection is contagious at that time. And that protects not only the student athlete, but his opponent.
Okay. Some of the technical changes you guys are recommending, one concerns the offensive starting position. Could you explain some of the nuances to that?
This was a rule that was put in last year, and what we were trying to do is make sure that an equal start from the referee's position, it was equal for both the offensive and defensive wrestler. Well, there was always a little bit of concern about when the hand in the offensive position would come around, and it has to be placed on the navel of the defensive wrestler. Well, sometimes it was coming in and it was maybe a little extra push, and so that the offensive wrestler or defensive wrestler would jump start, which would be a caution by our rules. So we changed the rule last year to mean that this hand has to come in on the navel first. The other hand to the near side has to be placed on the elbow. Okay. The referee is supposed to pause to make sure that everybody's stationary, and then the whistle is to be sounded. So in essence, what we're asking is we're going to use the term stationary and motionless. Okay. So that the defensive wrestler is required to set, and the referee will set him, and now he becomes motionless. Now, the offensive wrestler gets on. Number one, he places the hand over the navel. Number two, puts the hand on the elbow, and the referee will not blow the whistle to start wrestling until which time both wrestlers are absolutely stationary. Then he will do his pause and then start the wrestling action.
And I know you guys tweaked the language with the inbounds rule of when a wrestler's inbounds. Could you get into the...
Very simple. Very simple. We have changed supporting point. All through our book, when a supporting point remains inbounds. And sometimes supporting point, is that when I have weight on my hand? What exactly inbounds for a takedown, escape, or reversal are we talking about? The pressure on the hand or on the feet or on the toes? So what we've eliminated that and just simply say that a athlete is considered to be inbounds, either the offensive or wrestlers in the neutral position, as long as any part of either wrestler remains in bounds. We've taken out the supporting point. Okay. It's very subtle, and it'll be a lot easier for referees to call.
Okay. One last question for you. The referee enrichment program, could you
The
tell us
referee
about that?
enrichment program is a new option being developed now by the NCAA Wrestling Committee. As you might imagine, through your wrestling experience, you know, in the summertime, student athletes go to clinics, coaches go to coaching clinics, and we thought it's time now to uniform, from that standpoint, refereeing calls. And what we would like to accomplish by this is a consistency of how a playing rule is called from the eastern United States to the western side of the United States. So we're thinking about putting together a proposal for the NCAA which would make create a enrichment program for officials. Just exactly how that will play out is still in the planning stage. But I think referees who might be watching this this tape will be able to know that something like this is coming, and it will probably be in effect for the year 2009.
Okay. And again, all of these changes are recommendations right now, and they have to be approved by the Playing Rules Oversight Panel. And the next time that group gets together is in June. And we want to thank you for joining us, Bob.
Thank you, Craig.
Appreciate
it's
it.
my pleasure.
All right.